Hi, welcome to this series of Parenting with Purpose and African Wisdom. We're actually reading through my book and discussing some of the points that I raise in terms of parenting. My name is Dr. Gladys Mwiti. I'm a clinical psychologist and trauma specialist, founder and CEO of Oasis Africa Center for Transformational Psychology and Trauma. Our headquarters is here in Nairobi, Kenya. So the other day, talking to a university professor who works a lot with students in his university, he was telling me that so many parents are complaining that they find their children in university almost like some of them are losing the sense of direction. They're involved in so much other stuff besides studying and working hard in their classes. Some of them are in broken relationships and they are really stressed about it. Others are trying substances. Recently we had a case in one university where a student was cohabiting with someone from outside the university and got killed in the process. So parents confused with so much that is happening that seems to be beyond their ability to control. Now, we are not saying that young people do not have struggles when they get to university or they get to the young adulthood. They do have so much going on. Besides, of course, the stress of classwork and assignments and so on and so forth, some of them are trying substances. So parents are like, what's happening? Now, it is normal for young people, young adults to struggle with life, finding their balance and their identity and so on and so forth. But then when we get to extreme behaviors, you wonder why, what is happening. So this book, Parenting with Purpose, is actually suggestions for parents on principles that we can have in place as we parent our children at whatever age, by the way, not just from childhood, at whatever age. So for example, this first chapter in this book asks, what is purpose? Why are we talking about parenting with purpose? So we have talked of beginning with the end in view, asking, for example, of your growing child, my growing child, what would I like this child to become like an adult? What's my purpose? And then remembering that my purpose should actually be driven by the realization that the purpose, the true purpose for my child, is a purpose for which God created them. So I may so much wish for my child to become a pilot, but the gifts I have are the gifts of an artist, a creative artist. I may wish for a child to become a doctor, but the best talents I have is in teaching kindergarten. So how do I make sure that my purpose for them actually mirrors, as far as possible, God's purpose for them? So that's the way we are looking at this book and sharing some of the principles of parenting. So still on the chapter 1, on purpose in parenting, today we want to look at motivation. Purpose in parenting and motivation. And as I've shared before, in this book I'm using African wisdom and biblical wisdom. So I start with an African proverb today and end with a biblical proverb. The African proverb is from Uganda, and it says, "He who fears the sun will not become chief." And then the biblical proverb is from Proverbs 22 and verse 13 that says, "The sluggard says, there's a lion outside," or "I'll be murdered in the streets." Did you know that is from the Bible? It is. So let's go back to the Uganda proverb. He who fears the sun will not become chief. What does it mean? Now, becoming a chief in one's village in Africa was something to be envied, because high order is conferred to the person who would be chief. And actually they get to that position through not just merely appointment, that is the African chief, but through hard work and their own integrity. So fearing the sun refers to laziness, because hard work in Africa is often done in jua kali, which means under the hot sun. No one therefore can fear the sun and expect to go far. Now the sun could be the literal sun, literally, or it could also be anything that would discourage one from doing their best in any situation. So no one can expect progress if all they do is avoid difficult life challenges. And so Africans didn't believe in pampering their children, giving in to their every whim. It's come on, get up and work if you want to eat. A very biblical statement. So that's the Ugandan proverb. Now the biblical proverb, the sluggard says, there's a lion outside, can't be murdered in the streets. Now this actually, the Bible rules out excuses as a way of getting by in life. So growing up in a purposeful manner means working against the natural tendency to be lazy and sluggish. I said natural tendency because the nature in us forces us to actually go against the rule of life of get up and work. Get up and clean your room. Get up and do the dishes. Get up and go to work. The natural tendency is, oh, wait a bit longer. Let me sleep a little bit longer. And so parenting and motivation explores the need then for parents to encourage and to inspire their children to internalize the work ethic and then supervise them as they internalize the work ethic. My mother, an illiterate woman who I've kept on referring to in my book, she understood the purpose of motivation, Maslow's style. She made demands pleasurable and communicated her purpose in instilling enterprise so that actually work was not allowed to be obeyed with pain and regret, but a joy to be lived. She would encourage us to sing along as we are working in the garden in the hot sun, harvesting beans, and would pick up the song. That was the kind of mother I have. But she never spared the rod and never entertained mediocrity. What is mediocrity? Mediocrity actually means consistently getting stuck to middle level qualities, ordinary level qualities that are neither good nor bad, and being satisfied with the commonplace living and average achievement when one is capable of doing better. It borders closely on what God told the church in Laodicea. This is in Revelation 3:15 to 16. He says, I know your works. You are neither cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. That's rather harsh, but that's God speaking. You cannot live in mediocrity and have God sit with you and have a cup of tea. He says, get up out of the level of mediocrity. So my mother then purposed that whatever was worth doing was worth doing well. She gave duties and supervised them. She rewarded success. She trained the ignorant to know what to do and disciplined the headstrong. So my mother was determined. When my dad says, no daughters of mine will go to school, she stood her ground with determination. My father who by now was a polygamist with another family, relented and said, okay, all of us can go to school. However, there was a condition. My mother was to find means and provide for us to go through grade school. She didn't have anything. She was working with her hands in the garden, but she taught us how to work. Every morning, chores in the garden, grow the coffee, harvest the coffee, prune the coffee, grow the beans, harvest the beans, go to school, get your grades. That was my mother. So she took the challenge, trained us to be diligent and disciplined. Diligent, disciplined, in feeding the pigs, yes, if that was your duty. In carrying water from the river, yes. And fill up the tanks before you went to school at 7:30, get there 7:30 in the morning. And diligent and disciplined in school, don't break the rules. And bring your grades home. She was competitive, and she taught us to be competitive and happy and to celebrate our grades, and she modeled the same. It is only after her death in 1999 at the age of 74 that I realized, wow, my mother was a psychologist. Because I sat with the villagers and friends over the 1 week of the preparations for her burial. Every evening would sit around the fire and people would tell stories about my mother, her counseling qualities, her mentoring and coaching qualities. And I realized, wow, this lady, illiterate, was still purposeful. She was a confident village woman, and she knew and understood the meaning of behavior reinforcement, which is a Maslow behavioral training. But I look back today and I see this purpose and diligence written all over me, ingrained by an illiterate woman who was a teacher, motivational speaker, counselor, and behavioral psychologist, all rolled into one. So what you are saying is that purposeful parenting motivates children to do their best. So as we walk through this book, Parenting with Purpose, grab yourself a copy, Keswick Bookshop in Nairobi, Textbook Center, or Amazon for those who like virtual reading. Please follow us. Remember to subscribe. If you are a parent, parent purposefully. Thank you.